A young tree tilted outward, snapped, splintered, and pitched its length to the ground, springing up and down in diminishing bounds on its pliant branches, as though not only the sound, but also the movement of the fall had set up echoes in the solitude. In the gap, half concealed by a confused tangle of creepers, leaves, and broken flowers, appeared a figure of terror, monstrous beyond the nature even of that dark, savage place. Huge it was, gigantic, standing on its hind legs more than twice as high as a man. Its shaggy feet carried great, curved claws as thick as a man's fingers, from which were hanging fragments of torn fern and strips of bark. The mouth gaped open, a steaming pit set with white stakes. The muzzle was thrust forward, sniffing, while the bloodshot eyes peered short-sightedly over the unfamiliar ground below. For long moments it remained erect, breathing heavily and growling. Then it sank clumsily upon all fours, pushed into the undergrowth, the round claws scraping against the stones, for they could not be retracted, and smashed its way down the slope towards the red rock. It was a bear, such a bear as is not seen in 1,000 years, more powerful than a rhinoceros and heavy as 8 strong men. It reached the open ground by the rock and paused, throwing its head uneasily to one side and the other. Then once more it reared up on its hind legs, sniffed the air, and on the instant gave a deep, coughing bark. It was afraid. Afraid, this breaker of trees whose tread shook the ground. Of what could it be afraid? The porcupine, cowering in its shallow burrow beneath the rock, sensed its fear with bewilderment. What had driven it wandering through strange country, through deep forest not its own? Behind it there followed a strange smell, an acrid, powdery smell, a drifting fear. A band of yellow gibbons swung overhead, hand over hand, whooping and ululating as they disappeared down their tree roads. Then a pair of jennets came trotting down from the undergrowth, passed close to the bear without a glance, and were gone as quickly as they had come. A strange, unnatural wind was moving, stirring the dense mass of foliage at the top of the slope, and out of it the birds came flying. Parrots, barbets, and coloured finches, brilliant blue and green honey creepers and purple jackdaws, gentoas, and forest kingfishers, all screaming and chattering down the wind. The forest began to be filled with the sounds of hasty, pattering movement. An armadillo, apparently injured, dragged itself past. A peccary and the flash of a long green snake. The porcupine broke from its hole, almost under the bear's feet, and vanished. Still the bear stood upright, towering over the flat rock, sniffing and hesitating. Then the wind strengthened, bringing a sound that seemed to stretch across the forest from end to end, a sound like a dry waterfall or the breathing of a giant, the sound of the smell of the fear. The bear turned and shambled away between the tree trunks. The sound grew to a roaring, and the creatures flying before it became innumerable. Many were almost spent, yet still stumbled forward with open mouths set in snarls and staring eyes that saw nothing. Some tripped and were trampled down. Drifts of green smoke appeared through gaps in the undergrowth. Soon the glaucous leaves, big as human heads, began to shine here and there with the reflection of an intermittent leaping light, brighter than any that had penetrated that forest twilight. The heat increased until no living thing, not a lizard, not a fly, remained in the glade about the rock. And then at last appeared a visitant yet more terrible than the giant bear. A single flame darted through the curtain of creepers, disappeared, returned and flickered in and out like a snake's tongue. A spray of dry, sharp-toothed leaves on a zeltazla bush caught fire and flared brightly, throwing a dismal shine on the smoke that was now filling the glade like fog. Immediately after, the whole wall of foliage at the top of the slope was ripped from the bottom as though by a knife of flame, and at once the fire ran forward down the length of the tree that the bear had felled. Within moments the place, with all its features, all that had made a locality of smell, touch, and sight, was destroyed forever. A dead tree, which had leaned, supported by the undergrowth for half a year, fell burning across the red rock, splintering its cusps and outcrops, barring it